Let's switch the conversation over to talk about how the hell do we defend ourselves against these threats that you're talking about here. So where does somebody start? No drinking allowed.
Let's see. First line of defense, I would say monitoring is now more essential than ever. With expanded sort of scope, with additional network data, we're struggling to just sort of cover all those potential gaps. So the more systems we can have logging from network to actual system, server, hardware, all needs to now be monitored and correlated for potential breaches or vulnerability. I would say on top of that, likely user behavior analytics right along that same vein is a big one. Before you used to just be able to, largely you would care, is the account locked? Is it disabled or is it enabled? Now, because of sort of the attack is shifting to the user, we as IT security staff now need to understand that user behavior matters a whole lot more. Does an individual who normally never accesses financial records, are they suddenly trying every single server on the network? I mean, again, what does Brenda in accounting know about credential scanning? And she probably doesn't even know what servers are. So that's the sort of thing where we're shifting from, account lockouts to what are people actually doing.
So when you say your network is the first line of defense, are you referring to the people on it specifically? Is there a hardware component that people want to talk about? Is there like cloud stuff they could be using?
Multi-factor authentication, it's one of those, again, we got to get back to basics until we can say we've fully mastered and have everyone using it. And I suppose on that same vein, since we're talking about defense with MFA, credential hygiene and just user training in general. People have got poor password policies or just incredibly weak credentials, or they just use them on so many accounts that what's the point of a single password?
So let's talk about you guys are an MSSP. Mm-hmm. Make sure I don't forget that second S or I'll get in trouble, right? So let's talk about your stack, right? It's like what's in the stack of monitoring, multi-factor authentication, behavioral analytics. Like what are you guys using? Let us look underneath the hood here and show us. I mean, I would assume the best practices around cybersecurity and network management.
Sure. We IT people have often, we've been under vendor spam the last kind of 10, 15 years, especially in security with such an emerging market. All those tools now need to start working together. It's nice that you bought those tools and you've been able to sort of, stiffen your posture to become more compliant. But the fact of the matter is, unless you have that vulnerability scanner on a set schedule that someone looks at, also correlating with SIM technology that someone is monitoring and making sure works, making sure all your networking devices are in here. By having that sort of centralized area to be able to see everything from users to network to events, that's really where we're finding the ability to not just stop, but the ability to sort of forecast where there could be a potential security problem and stop it before it occurs.